One of the more interesting dynamics in EU4 is the England versus France, especially with the game starting during the 100 Years' War that spanned from the 1300s through the mid 1400s. And generally, it was slowed down quite a bit by, the body of water between them. This mod, however, removes that body of water, as well as a lot of the North Sea. I'm not super savvy on the history of the idea of Doggerland, but I believe that it is a very shallow portion of the sea, and it is believed to have been above ground in the, recent past, as early as kind of like the most recent ice age. So this mod revives that land, and basically it connects England with the main continent as well. So the Low Countries no longer so low, and you can now march from Norfolk over to Jutland, and there's nothing stopping you, except for the few nations that are in between, all of which have their own starting history with a ruler, a flag, they've got their own cultures, as long as you're all right considering the Dutch a culture, and 2 new regions, apparently. Terrain is very forested in these portions over here, but lots of farmlands up in the north, and a little bit of hills, so there's some terrain. Height map even reflects that, which is nice. So obviously we'll be focusing on this region of the map in this video, but the rest of the world, I'm sure, will have some cool stuff going on. It is EU4 after all. Anyways, you guys know the drill. We're going to turn it on up to speed 5 and unpause. There is no mission trees in the mod, but we are seeing some diplomacy setting up early on, and I'm sure that this is going to affect the way that things move around over here. Seems like this Doggerland is kind of the major boy. They are a kingdom, whereas Doggerland over here is a duchy, as well as these guys are a kingdom, and these guys are a republic, so that's kind of cool. 30 years in, the 100 Years' War has seemingly stalemated. Don't really know why France hasn't beaten the tar out of England, because it's clear that France is the stronger nation in vanilla EU4, but for some reason England still has all of their land, never even lost Alençon. They just gave up Maine by the looks of it. So I'm not really sure if that has been affected, but it does appear that it has. France still has their cores on Normandy and Gascony, so I'm sure they're going to want them eventually. But England has set their sights over towards the Emerald Isle, and they have conquered a bit of that with only Thomond left. Meanwhile, this Doggerland has conquered much of the land over here and is seemingly going to be the dominant power in Doggerland proper. Though Burgundy has crossed over Avalonia, and looks like they are taking a bit of land over here. This cute little guy, that's a funny looking province right there. But they've got some land up in here, and then meanwhile we've got Denmark getting absolutely booped on the snoot by Sweden, though it looks like it's kind of a mutually assured destruction right now. Poland has a ducal Prussia, which is always cool to see, as well as a personal union of Lithuania. Hungary annexed Croatia, as well as Serbia, splitting them with Albania. And Austria is not their overlord, so I don't really know what happened with that, but they are independent and very big. Of course, the Ottomans have eaten up our friends of Byzantium, and it looks like they're eating up our friends of Venice as well. Just kidding, Venice is not my friends, but either way, the Mams have skipped over here into Ischel, which I feel like I see that happening quite often. I think that may be something that was introduced in one of the more recent patches. Timmy has no more subjects and seemingly no friends, and they've lost a lot of their land as well. And Ming woke up and chose violence, beating the tar out of Oirat, who has annexed Mongolia. Very strong nation. Oirat may be one of the strongest nations in vanilla EU4, and nothing has changed in this mod, so we're gonna have to keep our eye on this one. We will be watching your career with great interest. Only 30 years in, and we've got the Cape Coast being colonized by Portugal. Nothing in the New World just yet, but it's only a matter of time. Also, shout out Mali, one province minor here in Gabu. And shout out militarist Castile, just straight up annexing Aragon, except for Catalonia. Catalonia is independent. Well, the turn of the century is here, and Protestantism has arrived in Eastern Germany, Western Poland region. Also arriving is the scourge of Europe, pushing up into Hungary, bordering Vienna. Very spooky. And in that process, Austria has fled partially into Italy, conquering land from the Pope man. And then whatever this is, Aragonese, Genoese, Moroccan, Tunisian, North Africa. Very nice. But of course, we got to have a look over here, and for some reason, England has taken land in France, though I think it may have been from subjects that perhaps had broken free. And Burgundy seemingly was inherited by somebody, but is independent now because they annexed all of their subjects, and I think you annex them for free whenever the event happens to become a personal union. Regardless, they're here, and they're very strong. They're very powerful. Not powerful enough to be on the Great Powers list, however, with the Ottomans leading, with Ming just falling behind because of institution. Castile, the number 2, with Muscovy, the number 3. Ming, as I mentioned, 5th, however, going to England, just eking out France by 8 development. So that's pretty good. And then we have Portugal and Poland, Polska Gorum, in the 8th spot because of that big old Lithuanian subject. So Commonwealth, gonna be powerful. But yeah, you saw it. Muscovy is they're gonna be a force to be reckoned with, taking lots of land from Finland, from Sweden, and pushing all the way down into Central Asia. Looks like the relentless push east is well underway. And very interesting, Ming took some land from Oirat and is now seemingly a tributary of Ming, but they're losing a war to Jeonju, or however that's pronounced, so they very well may form Manchu, which always love to see a Manchu forming. I just love when the AI forms nations in general. It's a really nice thing. While we're here, perfect border Korea and Yamana, the new shogun, with Ashikaga and Shoni, their daimyos. Very cool. Colonization continues, this time with Castile joining the fray, but Portugal has arrived over in Brazil, as well as down in the Argentinian region. They're also up in the Caribbean, with Spain, or Castile rather, landing in Florida. Bermuda also going to the Portuguese, but aside from that, we don't have any colonization going on from other than the Iberians. I am definitely curious to see how the Reformation affects this area over here, because obviously Anglicanism is pretty insulated from the rest of the world by, ocean. Should be pretty cool. The Reformation continues to ravage through Europe, looking really good, though no Anglican Church of England just yet. Protestantism absolutely blasting through Germany as well as Poland, with Reformed dotting the western portions of Germany, but Doggerland firmly in the Protestant camp. Spain is united, having taken a ton of land in the Maghreb as well as down in Italy. So they're doing really good so far, basically optimal Spain. And France pushed quite hard over here into northern Italy, as Austria has absolutely collapsed and the Ottomans are terrifying. But I think the most interesting thing going on right now is that Great Britain has formed and they are ravaging France, beating the tar out of them. So I think we very well may see an Angevin Empire, though the AI won't form it. It's like hard-coded not to, but this is still really cool to see. Russia has formed and they are relentlessly pushing east, and Persia has also formed, also relentlessly pushing east. They are Shia, as you would expect, because Ajam formed them, and Manchu has formed and pushed down into China, as well as a bunch of the breakaway states from Ming, because Ming is just gone. They don't exist anymore. Korea is perfect, and Japan is almost perfect, except for one province up here, Yugo, owned by Ashikaga. Vijay is gone, and it looks like Hormuz has some land over here, which is interesting, but Bahmanis is the major Indian blob, and I think we're probably going to see them continue to dominate. Kiowa has a southeastern Africa, with the Congo being united by the Congo. Colonially, South America is almost exclusively Portuguese, though there is some English at the north ports of it here. And then we have a Caribbean colonized by the Portuguese, and the East Coast almost exclusively the Spanish, though we do have some French colonies down here in Louisiana, as well as some Danish provinces up here in James Bay. Interesting choice of a region, but yeah, that's what we're going to go with, I suppose. Almost 150 years in, Ming used to be the #1 great power. Now they don't exist. Ottomans, however, are almost double the #2 great powers power points, so that's kind of nuts to see. Spain is now in the #2 spot, with Great Britain also formables in the #3 spot. France in the 4th, though they are going to be falling, I'm sure of that, with Portugal in the 5th, newly formed Russia in the 6th, Poland in the 7th, and Bohemia in the 8th. Though Poland being a great power while losing Lithuania and losing a bunch of land to the Ottomans, they're gonna fall as well by the looks of it. And sadly, we won't be able to see this one to 1821 because this janky ass mod keeps on crashing, and I've restarted it like 12 times. It just keeps on crashing. So yeah, sorry. Regardless, we had quite a few major changes due to this mod, including Great Britain pushing over into France. France is absolutely on the decline, and I am a big fan of that. Roma has finally returned to the land of which it should, the Turks. And Poland decided if they couldn't PU Lithuania, they would just annex them alongside the mega Ottomans. Russia continues to dominate, and there's no doubt in my mind that they would end up being in the top 3. Japan has pushed over into Manchuria. I think I've seen this one before, and Shun is a very long boy. Probably the strongest nation in China outside of maybe you. Probably you. As I showed before, Bahmanis looking very big and very spooky, with Jaunpur up in the north, though a lot of this is wasteland, so it's a little misleading, but lots of dev up here in like the Indus River Valley, and then Bahmanis looking really strong in the south. Persia got nice borders outside of missing some land from Hormuz over here, but yeah, I'll give them partial credit. Funny seeing Funj, this Nubian nation, pop out over here and then somehow get land over here, only to get conquered by Ethiopia. Meanwhile, the Mams are just spliced and diced. Ottomans have an eyalet over here in Tunis, but then they also have one over here. I don't even know how this happens. The British have arrived in South Africa, as well as the Spanish and the Portuguese, and colonization basically continues in the same sort of people involved that were there before, with Vinland forming for Denmark, and then Norway actually making it into the Rio Grande, which is very cool. The Portuguese have decided that they want this land, and honestly, you guys can have it. Religiously, it's basically the same that it was before, though I will say I think Reformed has expanded quite a bit more over here into France, and I do think that Protestantism as well as Reformed have expanded quite a bit more down into Hungary, as those centers of Reformation start converting these provinces that are owned by the Otto but are Catholic religion. Also, I don't know if I have literally ever seen this before, but Japan is Buddhist, and not just Buddhist, but Mahayana Buddhism, which is from Vietnam. That is really cool. I love that. New World is all Catholic except for the parts settled by Scandinavians. Those are indeed Protestant. And Wales has 3 development in this province over here, Montgomery. So I don't know what's going on over there. Not much, apparently. London at 42, Paris at 39. And there's actually a decent bit of development up here with basically a bunch of 20 plus dev provinces in Doggerland. But Constantinople, the city of world desires, at the #1 spot with 45. So yeah, lots of 40 plus dev provinces here. And absolutism hasn't even started yet. Cool mod. Shame it wasn't play tested to make sure it actually works. But yeah, crashes every single time at like September 16th, but you know, it is what it is. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you leave a like on it, subscribe for more, because we do love looking at some modded EU4 on this channel. Of course, there will be EU5 content coming in the future, so stay tuned for that. And I'd like to cover some other strategy titles and might have some stuff in the works, so stay tuned. I appreciate you. Hope you have a wonderful day. I'll see you in the next one.